Yeah, it's actually better because then I don't have to vote on the 4th of July.
Yes, sir.
Is he with you? Okay. Okay.
I'm okay with website. I mean, you could think it's yeah, you don't have to say what I want.
All the model outfits as they come out for all the things. So I mean, it's just wild to see. I love it because when there's something it makes us hungry. It's like we're not going anywhere for
Silence all electronic devices.
Ready, Jason? Everybody ready?
Seat backs up and the trays in the upright position.
John, are you ready? Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular Borough Council meeting of February 27th, 2023 to order. This meeting has been properly advertised in the Home News Tribune of January 6, 2023, according to Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
Here.
And be advised for the record that he is calling in this evening. Councilman O'Donnell? Here. Councilman Peretti?
Here.
Councilman Potter?
Here.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Here.
And Council President Zambrana?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Please rise and join me in a moment of silence, followed by a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we're going to start this evening with a few presentations. I'd like to introduce our webmaster, Gabrielle Pietanza, who is going to take us through some of the updates and features of the Borough website. So thanks for being here. So we have some new things and maybe some things that have been around for a while, and so we'll share them, and then we'll open it up for if anybody has any questions. Okay? Is that okay with you?
That sounds great.
Great. Thanks.
Can everyone hear me? I don't know. Okay. Hi. Well, thank you for inviting me tonight. And like the mayor said, I'm Gabrielle Pietanza. I've lived here my whole life in Milltown, and I joined the borough officially about a year ago as the webmaster. And if you visited milltownnj.org back then, it looked a bit like this. So it was time for a little refresh. So among other things, I've been working on a project for the past couple months to redesign the website. So I'm not going to take up too much time, but I just want to do a quick overview of the site navigation and some new key features that we have. So, yeah. So if you go there now, it'll look a little more like this. I'm just going to scroll through very high level. But yeah, so you have some buttons, a lot of the same things that used to be here. You can check out agendas and minutes for meetings like tonight. You can pay your bills online. If you ever have anything around town that you want to call out, you can report a concern, and it brings you right to a little form where you can say what's going on in your area. So you can fill out the form, and then the message will be directed to the party that would fix that. And then whenever you want to go back to the home page, you can just click the logo up there. You can subscribe to different alerts. You can learn about trash and recycling. And there's also a new page that's called New Residents Start Here. So if you're new to town, you can go there, and it's going to be built out more, but it's a one-stop shop for things you might need to know. So paying your bills, about recreation, how to sign up for different notifications, and things like that. So those are the main buttons, but if you keep going down, you can see the calendar with 2 days left of the month. It's not too full, but if you go to March, you can see all of the things that are coming up. And then there's also news flashes. So these are little alerts that are put out by the different departments for things that are happening that you should be alerted on. You can actually sign up to be notified for these news flashes. So if you just click news flash, it'll bring you to this nifty thing, and you can see all of them listed out. And you can also click on notify me right here, and you can create an account, and you'll actually get emailed or texted those notifications, which is a pretty cool feature. And yeah, that is the homepage overall. And then there's also just the menu of different things if you want to learn about all of our mayor and council members, if you want to see different ordinances or get involved in a board or committee. You can learn about all of our different departments. They're pretty self-explanatory on the menu, but one that I really do want to call out is if you want to get involved with recreation programs, there's youth and adult and lots of great things. You can just join Community Pass. It brings you to an external site, so you would have to create an account like I have, but you could just log in and sign up for things there. Yeah, and that is overall the new updates. And the last thing I want to call out, and then I'll take any questions, but you can click this little check mark, or sometimes it's a little person in the corner, and you can see different personalized options. So this is a big accessibility tool that we've added. So you can actually change the font, you can change the font size if you, not quite that big, but if you need it that big, but you can change the font size, you can make the cursor larger to help. You can also focus on certain areas of the screen, so it helps guide your eye. But different features like that really help make navigating it a bit simpler. So just one of the many things that we've added, and there's even more that we're going to be doing for accessibility this year. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll open it up to the council first. Anyone have any questions or comments?
So Gabby, thank you so much for that presentation.
Yeah.
Could you go to like tonight's meeting on the calendar?
Yeah, of course.
I get asked this question a lot.
So you scroll to the calendar.
And if you click on that,
You click on here,
right?
and it just tells you
Yes.
about the meeting, so you'll know it's right here.
Right, can you like click to where you could actually download the agenda?
That's not a feature that's built out in the calendar. Oh, maybe it is.
Yeah.
Download agenda.
There
Look
you
at that. Yes, you can.
I use it all the time, Gab.
Thank you.
Eureka.
Yeah, so you can do it that way, which is new to me. We're all learning. But you can also find the agendas and the minutes for this meeting and past meetings under agendas and minutes if you want all of them, if you want to go a little further back.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other?
Gabrielle, do you do anything with the back-end analytics to know what the most frequently used pages are and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. So that was part of what we did to place the things and like the buttons in the redesign. But a lot of people are looking up trash and recycling. A lot of people are looking up recreation programs. And those were the top two. but I'm hoping that some of these other new features are also good resources for people. We're also updating the search functionality, and that's like a good indicator of what people are looking for. So that's something that I'm working on. But yeah, those are the top two by far.
Great. Could you demo going into like a particular department? I know you showed going
Yeah.
into Community Pass, but maybe we could see like
Yeah.
a department's page.
Where should we go? Do you have a preference?
Well, I represent public safety, so if you want to go to maybe
Let's
the
go to public
police
safety.
or something like that.
Okay, so, oh gosh, am I blind? Let's just go to police. So if we go to the police department, you can see their newsflash information. So the last thing that they announced was the coyote information. And then you can also see just some general things about them, how to contact them, and then different programs that they offer. So Crime Stoppers, firearms, all of the great resources that they have. So that's a good example of like one that's built out a bit more with multiple pages. Whereas one like, I don't know, lovely administration, it's all on one page mostly. So it's just a bit more simplified, just like high level information about what that department is.
But it looks like it has navigation on the left, that's resources.
Yeah.
On the right is contact information, so each page is pretty consistent. That's
Yeah,
great.
and all of them are set up that same way. So even one like recreation that has a ton of different pages underneath that you can see, they still have like a main landing page that has that info too.
Yeah, thanks for all your hard
All
work
of
on
them.
this.
Yeah, looks good. Anybody else have any?
Oh, did you also want to perhaps show what some of our community groups have done on their pages or our committees?
Yeah, we definitely can. So if you're interested, oh, I'm sorry. If you're interested in getting involved with a board or commission, on the main page, there's this little button here that you can join. So you can check out the Citizens Leadership application and sign up for a board or committee you're interested in. I serve on the Board of Health. And if you want to learn even more about that group, under government, you can go to the boards, committees, and commission pages. And for example, for the Board of Health, they have information here. 2023 rabies information is coming soon, and that'll be added. But you can see for all of these groups when their meetings are, where they are, and just a brief like summary about them. You can check out who the members are, and yeah, any other information. Some of them have a bit more than others, and you can see different variances and meetings and maps for this one in particular. But yeah, there are still a few that need to be added, and if you're a part of a group that wants to build out more of a identity on the page, you can just contact your representative, and then they can work with me to get that done. But yeah, great question. Thank you.
And most of these have some contact information on there.
Yes.
too.
So yeah,
Get you to the right person for the right thing.
yeah. There's a secretary for that group.
So can you go back to the main page where there's the report of concern,
Yeah.
please? Because one of the things that we've been since we got this website updated a few years ago, we've been trying to point people to go here, because rather than having to try and call up and leave a message or come down or send an email to somebody, if you do a report of concern, let's say you have a street light out or you have a pothole or whatever a variety of reasons, this is the best triage so that someone gets it, and it's also because it can be tracked. So if you're having a problem, maybe a lot of other people are, but nobody would know if you're just calling up and leaving a message on the phone. But here they can see, the business administrator can see, oh, we've gotten 6 reported concerns about X. So it's pretty simple. It would take you just a minute or so. You can put as much or as little detail in as you need, but it does give you an option to sort of funnel it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I believe, Madam Mayor, they do respond to each concern,
Yes,
correct?
so
They do, yeah.
the best thing you can do is leave your email address on there. So sometimes people put the report of concern in, maybe they'll leave a phone number, which is great. But if you leave an email address, then we can immediately respond, let you know that we received your concern. And this way, you know that it hasn't gone into the abyss. So, but all the departments are very, very good about responding. Whether it's immediately or at least within 24 hours, you'll get a response.
That's good, good. Thank you. If you don't mind, can I open it up to anybody from the public? Does anybody in the public have any questions about the website? Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
Dawn Milburn, 12 Desert. I'm so glad to have you, Gabby. For some of us, like the Environmental Commission, we're almost ready to submit what we have to you, but for those of us who are not very computer savvy, like if we were to give you our information and say, hey, could you bold this in green, or could you like make this attractive, are you able to help us with that?
Yeah, definitely. Just
Okay.
whatever information you do have. There's also like fonts and things that are just
Right.
built into the site. So all of them are going to have a similar look and feel.
Oh, okay.
With the coloring and all of that stuff, but we can definitely make it.
So we give it to you, and then you know, and then
And
you
then
apply
I
it to
will
that?
make it
Yes.
into the site. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
just
That's
share
been
the
holding us
information
back.
And then, yeah. We'll
Thank you
get
for
that.
being here.
Oh, no, of course.
And Gabby, just to confirm, that would be going to the liaison?
The council liaison, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, it's a work in progress. So as you can see, we've come a long way since we started a few years ago. We're happy to have our webmaster help us. But if there's any suggestions or ideas or things that we missed that you'd like to see, or things that you think would be helpful, please feel free to let us know.
And Gabby, real quick, you do have links to other organizations in town, like Milltown 4th of July, that's still a link to the...
Yes, it is. Under
Perfect.
community, you can see the 4th of July, information about Milltown Day, and then also all of our schools are linked, as well as the fire department, the library, the rescue squad, and Milltown TV. A lot of information. And the last thing...
Please, if you don't mind.
Oh, sorry.
Barbara Wright, 38 Harrison Avenue. Would it be possible to put a link to the Milltown Historical Society website?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there's information about the Historic Preservation Committee already, but we're happy to add more things as we go. No, I know that they're different. I know they're different. But we're happy to continue adding things, yeah.
I just had the signing up for the notifications, maybe
Yes,
you might want
yes.
to touch on that. And
That's been a
Nixle as
confusion,
well.
right? So
Yeah.
Nixle, when something happens, like, let's say we have a water main break, right? So then I know that some people are signed up for certain Nixles. The police send out a Nixle. There's other types of Nixles. So when you go to that
Yeah, if you go to
alert,
How Do I?
Yeah.
And then you can sign up for Nixle notifications. That's the one thing that I
but
forgot to
is that
mention.
all one, Jeanette, or do you have to sign up for a different one?
I believe when you sign up for that, you choose what, because that's for emergency alerts, so DPW, if, we have impending weather or garbage collection changes, anyone who signed up for those will get those alerts. And then the police for any kind of road closures or accidents or things that they want to put out there. So that's where you would go to sign up for the emergency notifications.
Okay.
And then signing up for the website for the Alert Me will get you all those other news flashes, things that we, may just put out that don't really qualify as an emergency, but it might be some helpful information that, you would like to be alerted about. And with that also, you get to choose what types of alerts you want to hear, so you're not bombarded with things that you might not be interested in.
Right, but this is the best one if you want to know, like, let's say there's a snowstorm coming and you can't park your car on the street, or I've gotten them where the recycling was having a problem, so that's the way to get the quick quote-unquote emergency notice.
Yeah.
From Nixle, not from the website.
What was that? Sure. Just one last thing on Nixle. All you have to do is just text your zip code to 888-777, or if you go to the Nixle website, you can manage your subscription and pick what you want. And yeah, happy to go to Milltown TV. So you have information here, and then if you visit the YouTube channel, you can do that by clicking this link. I don't want to do it and mess up with anything on the live stream, but yeah, you can flip through presentations and things like that. Great.
For the Nixle alerts, are we still set up for those? Because I know originally we had for DPW, police and fire emergency, as well as recreation, so that if games or practices were canceled due to weather, that was still an option. Is that still available?
So recreation, those notifications, now that we're on Community Pass, they'll send a blast out through Community Pass, because we have everybody's contact information, so it'll go to the people that are actually registered, and they'll all get those notifications. So we do still have Nixle for DPW and for police.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much,
Thank you
appreciate
all
it.
for having me.
Thank you, Gabby.
So good. Go check out the website, please.
Go to the website.
Use it. Add to those statistics, so. All right, so while they're cleaning up, do you want to go ahead? Do you mind? Okay. So our next presentation, we have Neil Murata and Jason Kahn for the 4th of July Committee.
We're gonna go here. Yeah.
Oh, do you have slides too? Do you have?
We have slides
Oh,
as well,
okay.
yes.
Okay. All right, well, that was, thank you, Jen. Good evening, how are you?
Good evening, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Jason, that little black thing on the table will be your advance or pointer,
Thank
whatever. No problem.
If you don't mind, just say your name and for the record.
Yes. I'm Jason Kahn, and standing alongside me is Neil Murata, and we are a part of the. We could be like a duo. This is great. We are a part of the 4th of July committee. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of our council people. I appreciate it. This is my second year presenting on behalf of the 4th of July committee with Neil, and it is an absolute privilege to be up here on behalf of the committee. You know, I want to just say a few things, but before we get into it, you know, I've been in this town for coming up on 4 years now, and it just gets better and better. And just being a part of this committee, you can see the passion and the spirit, the energy, and I think that it's a reflection on this town. And I know that, you know, my residency here pales in comparison to a lot of people who have been in this town, lifelong residents, and I can see why. It's a magnificent town, and I think that there are a lot of people who are here, who are passionate, who really enjoy this holiday, who look forward to this holiday. I want to stress, you know, the fact that this is a tradition, which is part of our slides here, if I can get to it. Hold on one second. Come on.
Is it on?
There's a toggle on the.
All right.
Jason,
Well, anyway,
is it on?
Hold on,
Switch
so
on that.
here comes our tech support.
let's see.
You're actually too close to the mic, buddy. You're louder than everybody else.
What's wrong with that? I'm supposed to be louder than everybody else. So, you know, tradition here in town is really important. I really want to stress that. It's something that I've come to realize. Neil, he's been a part of this town for quite some time. He knows about everybody, you know, who's been a part of this town understands the tradition of this holiday and how much it means to people here. And, you know, we don't take that lightly, you know, as part of this committee. You know, that's part of it. The point I'm trying to make is that, you know, we're listening to everybody, whether it's positive or constructive, about how to enhance and how to improve our festivities and the celebrations that surround this great holiday each and every year. And so we're always looking to make it better and better, find different ways to innovate and create and just add a new layer. And I know that for a fact because I have these conversations with the committee each and every month that we get together, sometimes bi-monthly. And so that's something that I want to really emphasize, that we are working for the town even though we're volunteers. So we're working for you guys who are listening, who are watching, that, you know, this holiday is for you, and we're continuing to you know, spend as much time as possible to make it possible, to make this holiday so great. And so I basically went over the first two sentences here, but I think the last couple of sentences are important, that we depend solely on the generosity of both residents and our local organizations and businesses to keep our great Independence Day celebration alive. And, you know, we hope we can continue to depend on this town to help support us in, you know, having this great holiday here in this town. So please remember, we are a nonprofit 501c3 corporation. And then I want to give a special shout out to all the members who are part of this committee. These are the people who are putting in, the hard work, who are really on the ground and making it happen. Dave Potter, who's here today, Neil, who's standing next to me, Ross, also here tonight, manning the camera, Mike and Denise Finch, Josephine Idavaya, Adam and Jackie Young, Russ Tangen, John McNamara, Charlie and Debbie Miller, Melissa Elmeyer, myself and my wife Laura, Rob Schaffhauser, Terry Walsh, Lacey Earl, and Rich Revelinsky also here tonight. So special shout out to them. Thank you all for making this possible, and hopefully continuing this great holiday, and great things that we can do for them. With that said, I am going to pass it along to one of my fellow committee members and apparent duo here, Neil.
Thank you. Excellent job. Thank you, Jason. It's wonderful to hear the passion that comes from somebody who's recently come into the community, because it is all true. It is absolutely a wonderful event. Again, we're going to present somewhat similar to the past. We have the fishing derby at 6 a.m. by the rescue squad. The fun run, I believe, still put on by the Knights of Columbus by Bradford Park at 7:45, starts the fun run, and then the 5K at 8:10. 10 a.m. parade kickoff, still 10 a.m. I don't know if we're going to have the scissors for the event, but I believe so.
We have them, don't worry.
Okay. Again, on the corner.
I said making it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And then we are bringing back the daily events at the park. We've had a lot of people say, we miss that, we enjoy that. It may be scaled back a little bit, maybe a few less rides, maybe a few more field events, three-legged race and so forth. So again, and obviously the hot dogs, the free hot dogs, big request for the hot dogs, okay? We are still going forward with Mr. Ray, a staple of our events. The pizza eating contest again, which was well received last time, and of course our vendors. Following the events at the park, we have the duck race put on by St. Paul's at 2:30, then live music and vendors at the Parkview lot and the Glory Bradford Park. The Patriotic House contest is still continuing, as well as the apple pie. And the start button winners, whoever wins that contest will be able to press the start button for the fireworks, which was really well received. At least the family gets a big kick out of it. The 9:30 fireworks kickoff. We do have one more introduction this year. We would like to bring back the beer garden. So we would like to bring back the beer. We are proposing a beer garden. And the reason we don't have a slide on that yet is because it's recently discussed and we're still working out the plans so that we can make it, one, enjoyable, but also safe, most importantly, okay? So as part of that, beer would only be served in the beer garden, so it would not be able to go outside the beer garden. It would be roped off. It would be served only from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. By a truck, I believe from High Grade, okay, and regulated by Riders Wine and Spirit staff, so they will be there to make sure it's done correctly. These are the ideas so far, the plans. One side with the beer facing the pool, fenced off. All beer, again, must stay in the area. The other side will be facing the playground with birch beer, so we'll still have our soda. The beer tickets will only be purchased the day of in an area adjacent to the committee tent with the drink limit. We haven't determined the drink limit yet, but we will do so shortly. The price includes a plastic mug or cup, and there will be private security to help watch lines in the perimeter. All of this of course, will only be done, one, with your permission, but we understand the guiding factor here would be the chief of police. So with that presentation, we would request that we be authorized to proceed, again, with the chief of police's guidance and okay. If the okay is not there, we understand that it wouldn't be able to go forward. With that, again, we can only do this with the support of the mayor and council. Mayor and council have been there all the time, every single year, and we really appreciate that. The police, the rescue squad, fire department, DPW, I'm amazed at how much work they have to do. And it is really wonderful that they step up and help the town and help us. Volunteers, anybody who's free that day, we're happy to have your help. There are never enough volunteers. And again, thanks to our sponsors and the other volunteers, organizations, and last but not least, the residents of Milltown, who we do this for and who also support us tremendously. Again, we need your help. Although the township, through providing everything they provide, which couldn't happen without it, we still need donations, okay? And, we got hit with COVID pretty bad. It stunted a lot of what we like to do, but we come up with the Dine to Donates. We do request that you patronize these restaurants that help us on a constant basis and provide food and what have you. If you could go ahead and patronize them on those days, that would be great. We are also going to have another celebrity bartender, which we're looking forward to, and that will be on April 29th at the American Legion, starting at 7 p.m. Very fun event. I think everybody pretty much enjoys that one. And we'll have a few raffles in the near future. And maybe a karaoke night, maybe.
You never know.
No? Okay, so with all that, thank you very much.
We'll take some
Great.
questions.
Anyone from the council have any questions? Great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jill.
Good job.
Nice job.
Okay, and then our last presentation will be from Russ Einbinder for the Lions Club Easter egg hunt. Hi.
Good evening, Russell Einbinder, 152A North Main Street. Madam Mayor, and Council, I sent this letter to you about a week, actually, not last week, about 2 weeks ago. And Mimi asked that I please read this to you so everybody else knows what we're asking. As a relatively newer member, but still a couple of years, quite a few years already, believe it or not, at the Lions Club, it's been my pleasure to be the president the last few years. My late great friend, Joan Trent, kind of begged me to join her for many years. I said no, finally I did, and I guess I have her to thank for exposing me to another great organization, the largest service organization in the world. And yes, by the way, before I talk about what we're about to talk about, we will be cleaning up and changing some of the things with the, people are asking all the time where to put the glasses, the donations. There's a yellowish big old mailbox in the American Legion lot that gets filled up. We're going to make sure that gets emptied out a little bit more frequently than it has been, let's put it that way. But there's also places at the senior center and other places around town, including this building, that donate glasses. As you all know, if you've been in Milltown for 1 year or 100 years, we have an awesome Easter egg hunt that is been going on since the 1930s, I believe, in this town by the Lions Club. All right, and as we have for those years, we're hosting it for the children of Milltown. And anybody else that wants to come that day, if they want to bring friends or relatives, they're more than welcome. The park's pretty big. And after another successful event last year, we're looking forward to hosting the event by following current guidelines for occupancy and safety as provided by current health guidelines, and of course, in accordance with anything our Chief Kennelly wants us to do that might be different in the past, or just to make sure we do whatever he thinks is appropriate. The event is scheduled for Saturday, April 1st great day. Happens to be my birthday, but, whatever. Maybe the Easter Bunny will give me something nice, who knows? Well, you guys didn't know it was April Fool? Come on. All right. And we're expected to be at the park between 9 and 1 p.m. We'll be gone way before 1, but I put that there just to be safe. It's a free event, open for the benefit of the public. We're also, of course, requesting, again, reimbursement or just an outright waiver of the $175 park event fee as in the past. Because of that, thank you for your consideration. Is there any questions? Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you all there.
Appreciate it. All right, that will close our presentations, and we'll move on to approval of minutes from the February 13th, 2023 meeting. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, I will ask for, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we have comments from the audience on resolutions. If any member of the public wishes to speak on any of the resolutions, please identify yourself to the clerk and say your name and address for the record. These comments are limited to resolutions listed on the agenda. Oh, yes.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is John Shu, HSU, 219 West Shirley Avenue, Edison, New Jersey. I'd just like to say I've always felt welcome in Milltown, whether it's hanging out at the duck race or the 4th of July fireworks or the Oktoberfest. So I've had a lot of fun here and really appreciate the people of this town and all that you do to bring the community together. So I just want to speak tonight about the resolution regarding the power plant, opposition to the power plant, proposed power plant in Woodbridge. And I'll just give a little bit of background on that. There's already an existing power plant there that was constructed 7 years ago. So that power plant itself could, on the website, it says that it can power more than two and a half times more than the number of residents in the Middlesex County. And it was also constructed 7 years ago, so it was in addition to all the power that we already had within the county. In fact, we've, in the Woodbridge Environmental Commission here meetings, we've heard that the power would actually not be used for Middlesex County, but it would be used for other counties. So I think in light of that fact, I think it is important for us to talk about it and whether we need the power plant, and if we do not, to make a public declaration of that. The importance of it is actually because the governor, he actually has a lot of oversight power over this. The DEP has to approve a air permit, Title V air permit. Actually, the acting DEP commissioner is actually living in Highland Park, so he's close by. But the target really is the governor, to let him know that where the community stands on this issue. And he has really a lot of discretion and power over the power plant. So we don't necessarily want to infringe on other cities. I'm here from another town, but at the same time, it is really the quality of the air, the quality of the lives of our residents here. I actually want to speak tonight because there are a lot of people who do not know this project that's going on. It's important to educate the public. I've gone canvassing in the neighborhood that would be mostly affected by it, in the KSB section of Woodbridge. Residents who would live less than a mile away from it, the proposed power plant. So the proposed power plant would be built right next to the existing power plant. So many of the residents there, they did not know about this upcoming power plant, and they were obviously concerned. And just the lack of public knowledge of this project is concerning. So we need to get the word out. I'm glad the resolution is on the agenda, and just important to let the governor know where we stand on this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Michael Shikarja, 19 Yarnell Avenue, Chair of the Environmental Commission. I just want to start out by saying that the Environmental Commission has reviewed this resolution. We've discussed the resolution during more than one meeting. We had some outside discussions where we passed the resolution around to see how people felt. And then this last meeting, we went ahead and had a vote with regard to the resolution, which our liaison, Councilman Collins, can attest to. Mm-hmm. And we unanimously agreed that this resolution is important, and we recommend that it be passed by the council. When I take a look at it, one of the major things I see right now is the air pollution. And so you have the carbon pollution, plus you have the air pollution, the toxic air pollution. And with regard to Middlesex County, we're really not in a good place with regard to air pollution. Air quality is really not so great in this county. And I think the idea of increasing the levels of air pollution in our own county is it's really a bad idea. And then in addition to that, I think that the state has set up some plans with regard to energy independence from fossil fuels and efforts against climate change. And we have experienced some storms that one could attribute to climate change. And, we're not a coastal borough, but we do get affected by these things just the same, these extreme weather events. So it's not something that we can consider to be something that we're immune from. And so I just feel that the state has set up these plans. We feel that these plans for the future make sense, and it's not good to have inconsistencies like, okay, well, somebody wants to have a power plant, even though we have all these big state plans, we'll let them do it even though it's counterproductive. I don't think we should have those sort of counterproductive kind of plans around here. And I think as a responsible government, I think all responsible governments should stand behind that. And that's my last word. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Again, Dwight Milburn, 12 Desmond, and I thought it was important to also mention that these towns, our neighbors, have already passed resolutions. Edison, Highland Park, Sayreville, Perth Amboy, North Brunswick, South Brunswick, East Brunswick, Cranberry, Rawway, Franklin, Hoboken, and Plainsboro just sent a letter to the DEP. So we're not alone.
So,
They have
by
resolutions.
passing the resolution, then what's the next step? So Milltown would say, we're opposed. Where does that go?
Then that resolution, that becomes public information to the governor, correct?
In the resolution, it says to send a letter.
Yeah, the whole idea is then to, send it to the governor, Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, so I will close comments on resolutions, and we'll go on to bills and claims. Will the clerk please read by title only the bill resolution 083-2023?
Resolution 083-2023 is authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount of $563,256.50.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I move that the bill list be approved as typed.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilwoman O'Donnell. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
And Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have the introduction of resolutions. When voting on resolutions, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature, and having been reviewed by the Borough Council, will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. Are there any questions, or does any council person wish to pull any resolution from the consent agenda?
Can we pull 087-2023 for discussion?
Sure.
I just had a question about 86.
Okay.
If anyone else has any others to pull in the
Do you
meantime.
want to ask a question? Or you
Yeah,
want-
yeah, if you don't mind. So I just had a question about this, and I think it's probably more geared toward CME. Mike, I see this is for pumping services, and I'm wondering if this is being kind of pushed forward in relation to the news about the sewer pump station and the pumps possibly needing some work and repair.
I can answer that.
Okay.
This is for the repair of pump 2?
At
So
the
the
Church Street
cost-
Pump Station.
Correct. So the cost of the pump, we'll be using a vendor who's part of the co-op. And so the contract's listed. It's only under one of the contracts, but there's several contracts that we usually buy off of or purchase off of. So that's why we had to do the resolution, because the cost of that pump repair is in excess of the $44,000.
So how much is that, the cost of that
I
pump
think
repair?
it's 44.5 or something like that. It's slightly over 44,000. It's actually the rebuild of the pump. And once that is done, then I believe all of the pumps have been rebuilt, and we would just move on to a maintenance program.
Any other requests to pull any resolution? Okay, will the clerk please read the consent resolution?
Whereas pursuant to the rules of council, the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special meeting. And whereas the Borough Clerk has posted a consent agenda for this meeting, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, that the consent agenda previously prepared by the Borough Clerk be approved without the necessity of having the individual resolutions read by the Borough Clerk.
You've heard the reading of this consent resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that these resolutions be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilman Peretti. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
And just for the record, this includes all but 087, which will be discussed after this vote. Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
And Council President Zambrana?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Will the clerk please read Resolution 087-2023 by title?
Yep, for the agenda, it's 087-2023 is the resolution opposing construction of the CPV Kesby Power Plant in Woodbridge, New Jersey.
You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Council President Zambrana. Any discussion or questions?
I have requested that this resolution be pulled for discussion purposes. In general, I see that we always have an increased need for power, and generally I'd like to let businesses, let them do business. But I did notice in this extensive description that there were some items that really were concerning. Our proximity and to the proposed power plant, and the fact that we're considered an overburdened community. under the environmental justice law in the state. And the fact that our county has received an F grade for ground level ozone pollution, and that we, as a state, are not in compliance with U.S. Environmental Protection Agency standards, led me to agree with the resolution, thank you. The word was not coming to me. The resolution, and oppose the construction.
Anyone else?
I actually did have a question for some of the folks who stood up. Just out of curiosity, the Mr. Sue, I believe it is, had mentioned that a new power plant was built several years ago, which is sufficient for more than the current population of the county. And I was just wondering, does that power plant, that was an addition to an existing, do you know if the current proposed power plant, if constructed, would then result in the demolition or taking offline the initial plant? So then we'd be left with phase 2 and the new plant, in other words.
No, so the first one was...
You want to come up to respond?
Because I could see an older plant, if it was being taken offline, that this might actually help improve, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, this is an addition to the existing plant. So at that site, there was nothing there. So the first one was constructed 7 years ago. I think the plan was to construct 2. It wasn't necessarily made public. It was, you know, the reason was they would have to see what the market conditions were. That was the reason given. But you know, sometimes you think that I wonder that, you know, whether just constructing 2 separately. I think that that overcomes regulatory hurdles a little bit easier. Is what my perception was. So I can't really confirm that myself, but there will be 2 there. It will double the amount of emissions. All the emissions are kind of in the air permit that they submitted, and it is something that residents there did not know about. They only thought there was only going to be 1, but there will be 2 there.
Okay, so there wasn't like one built in the 70s and then 7 years ago in addition, and then...
No, there was no addition. Yeah, it was complete. The land was completely empty. So a complete new one was built 7 years ago.
Okay.
In addition to actually the 5 other power plants in Middlesex. So that one was the 6th one, and this potential new one will be the 7th one.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks, John.
tonight.
Anyone else? Will the clerk please call the roll? Oh, no, are we doing voice vote or roll?
No, it's a roll call.
Okay.
Councilman Collins?
Aye.
Councilman O'Donnell?
Aye.
Councilman Peretti?
Aye.
Councilman Potter?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
And Council President Zambrana.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. And just to let, I know Michael mentioned it, that it's been going around for a couple of meetings. You know, we normally don't vote on what goes on in other places, and so we just wanted to make sure that the council was fully aware of what they were voting on, because we never want to put anything on the agenda that's going to be voted down. So we didn't want to have you folks come here and have a negative, so we wanted to make sure that they had a true understanding. So we thank the cooperation between the council and the Environmental Commission to proceed with this, so that everybody's comfortable for what happened just now, okay? All right, so the next thing on our agenda is a CME engineering project resolution is being memorialized this evening by an all-in-favor vote. We took a roll call at the last meeting on the content, but tonight we have formalized the descriptions and the budgets for the written record. So may I have a motion and a second for Resolution 088-2023?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Potter, second by Councilman Peretti. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I voted no on this last time because I don't like to vote yes on things for which I don't have a resolution in front of me and some numbers. And I see here that the engineering costs associated with this project are $225,000. And I'm wondering how much of that money has been spent to date, including the design, permitting, grant coordination, and what remains is bid phase and construction phase services. Do we have a tally of how much of that 225?
I don't have those figures tonight.
I don't have the figures tonight with me, Rich. I can certainly get it if you call me to office tomorrow.
I appreciate it.
Much less than that, though, for sure.
My second thought here is that it's to be advertised as a single bid, and I'm wondering if the plans and specifications, the preparation of those plans and specifications have add and deduct items which would allow us to remove a particular item should the bids come in over budget, because with engineering fees included, it comes to $5,000 short of the $2 million grant money. And I believe it's also my understanding that the $2 million in grant money does not cover our soft costs, which would be the engineering fees. So that's a tricky two-parter, I'll restate. My question number one is, do we have to add deduct items in this bid? Because we ran into it with
We're still finalizing the documents, and because it is so close, we had the same idea. So the deduction item would be a deletion item in the contract.
Okay, yeah, because we ran into that with the monument for, and I'd hate to see us receive bids and then have to go out to rebid.
Agreed.
So the soft costs are not included in the grant money, that's correct, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, not all, I mean, the design fees are not included, but the inspection fees would be. Correct?
Well, we want to clarify that. My understanding is that the grant covers construction phase, just like Jeanette said, but possibly even some of the design fees if you have money left.
If there's money left. Okay, so whatever you don't use, you can apply.
That's my understanding.
Okay. One more question I have, since we were pushed forward to approve this resolution before presented to us at the last meeting, and it sounds like I have the answer already, but the plans and specifications are not complete as of today.
We are reviewing with your new QPA, the documents, and that's where they are right now. We're responding to some questions and some changes that he requested, and as soon as they're done, hopefully we'll get it on the street with this resolution approval tonight.
So we don't have a bid date set either yet at this time?
We're still working on those details, and we'll set that with your clerk.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, one question. Sure. So Mike, do we have any idea when that bid might be ready?
Well, as soon as we can address his comments, we have given him basically the documents we've been using for many years here. Okay? And these pages, these special sheets and requirements change frequently. So I'd say probably another 2 weeks, hopefully for your next meeting, hopefully.
Good to hear. Thank you.
We know it's urgent, and that's why we're trying to get it out.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Councilman Zambrana had asked me, and I actually didn't get the new document in front of you, which was to add the date that the grant was received into this resolution. And so I will be doing that, and if you have any objection or no objection, you'll be voting the fact that I will be adding that date in when I print it tomorrow.
Thanks, Mimi.
Anyone else?
Mike, a quick question for you. In general, why do we do this as a single bid with deletion options versus doing it as separate bids for the different components of the project?
Well, there's several reasons. One is you get economies of scale. When you have multiple projects together and they're all water related, there's economies of scale there. Plus, it's through one grant system. You have a grant from the state of New Jersey for this, and we met with committee, and the decision was to do these multiple projects as one project. We're happy to do them separately, but I wouldn't recommend it. You're going to get higher prices if you go out for it at one time.
Thank you very much.
In my experience, I'd agree with Mike in this one. I think it's best to have one contractor and obtain better pricing, but the add deduct items are something that I'd like to see in there, just, it concerns me with having to go out to rebid because we don't have the available funds covered by the grant if prices come in higher.
I thought it would be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, but that's sort of why we wanted to memorialize the budget and the description. So, to your point, we were got a little ahead of our skis at the last meeting, so now we're locking it up a little more. So. All right, so voice vote for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, now we will move on to council reports. We'll start with the Department of Finance, Administration, and Planning. Council President Phil Zambrana.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My first report is a short finance report. We continue to, the Finance Committee, Councilman Peretti, Councilman Potter, and myself, continue to work through the 2023 budget. Thanks to both of them for making time recently to step into meetings to continue moving the process forward. We'll be meeting again on Thursday evening to continue meeting with a couple of departments as we move forward. My second report is about the Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency. So the last meeting was on February 21st. I believe I might have said that Mr. Berger has filed another lawsuit. Shocker. But there's going to be a trial that's going to be on the appeal that was filed by Mr. Berger contesting the actions of the planning board and the borough in adopting the latest amended redevelopment plan. And that trial is actually going to take place on March 22nd in New Brunswick at 10 a.m. before Judge McCloskey. And from what I understand, members of the agency can attend and be present if they so choose. Mr. Berger, for those who have not heard me say this before, has failed to pay his first quarter taxes for this year. Our bankruptcy counsel is aware of this and will continue to follow up with Mr. Berger until this is resolved. And then any of the code enforcement violations that were given to the Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency were removed to the bankruptcy court. So the hope is that there might be discussions taking place to have these transferred to the Milltown Municipal Court. As updates continue to be provided, I will bring them back to the council and to the residents of Milltown. And as an FYI, the next Ford Avenue agency meeting will be on March 21st in Borough Chambers at 7 o'clock. I have a very short report about the Historical Preservation Committee meeting, which was held on the 23rd. My apologies, I sent all you folks a PDF late this afternoon about the, where the liaison, or I should say the chairman, Randy Ruth, and the committee wanted me to forward the definition and the analysis of what is a weak versus a strong Historical Preservation Committee. Again, I must have sent that out at like 4 o'clock. I totally forgot to send it out previously. And then my last report, which is a little bit longer, is about the senior center. So, as always, lots of activities going on at the senior center, including aerobics, line dancing, yoga, billiards, walk aerobics, men's club, Spanish, arts and crafts, bingo, and our newest, sweating with the oldies, as well as a monthly visit from the VNA. So some activities that will be taking place in March to keep an eye out for are this coming Thursday at noon. There will be a presentation by Ralph Jasnowski about Public Works. On Tuesday the 7th, there will be a bus trip to Wegmans Food Store. The bus will be leaving at 10 a.m. On Monday, March 13th, we're having an AARP presentation in conjunction with the Milltown Library beginning at 10:45. Wednesday, March 15th, there will be a bus trip to Ollie's, and the bus will be leaving at 10:30. Friday, St. Patrick's Day, we are having the seniors are having a garden club startup meeting at noon. On Monday the 20th, there will be a presentation from PSENG at noon. On Tuesday the 21st, there will be a rap session with myself, Jeanette, and the seniors, just to catch up. We kind of try to do this once a quarter, just to see how the seniors are doing. On Wednesday the 22nd at 1:30, there will be a pizza party bingo sponsored by the Chelsea. On March 28th at 1 p.m., there will be a musical lunch and learn sponsored by Brunswick Memorial. On Wednesday, March 29th, there will be a bus trip to Delicious Orchards, and the bus will be leaving at 10:30 a.m. On Thursday, March 30th, there'll be a bus trip to the Feast Restaurant in Old Bridge, and the bus will be leaving at 11:30. As with all trips and presentations, there's a sign-up sheet on the bulletin board at the Senior Center. And if you're interested in participating, you can call Debbie Cuddy at 732-296-0681 or register via email. Send her an email at dcuddy@milltownborough.com. As always, as Ms. Piatanza gave a presentation tonight about the Senior Center, you could always go to the Senior Center. All this information is listed there. But if you prefer to call Debbie, you can also do that. And one last thing is, on March 9th, there's going to be a 2020 Senior Fraud Prevention Conference given by Middlesex County. It will be at the Piscataway Community Center at 9:30, from 9:30 to 12:30, located at 520 Hose Lane. Registration is required by March 30th, 2022. That concludes my report.
Can I just piggyback onto that? So that trip, you can sign up through the Senior Center as well if you'd like, because I had, Debbie is working on maybe getting a bus trip together so that you don't have to drive there. You can hop on the bus if they get enough people that actually want to go. And I left flyers up on the chair on the way out, if you'd like to grab them for more information.
Great.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you. That's it, Bill? You're all good? Okay. Next, we will move on to the Department of Public Safety. Councilwoman Lyman O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no formal reports from the police department, fire department, or rescue squad tonight, but I did want to mention that I think it was a meeting or two ago that I had talked about a couple of calls that I had made in for emergency services and how well those calls went, and then I ended by saying, but I don't plan on making a habit of it. Well, guess what I had to do last week? This time I called in for services from the rescue squad, but we had Officer Dennis, I think he might be near, was the first responder on the scene. This was something that happened at a recreation program in town, and super helpful until the rescue squad came, and the rescue squad was amazing. The injury was to someone, as I said, participating in one of the recreation programs that I volunteer with. I went to the hospital behind the ambulance and joined her, and she just, even throughout the pain, was telling me how nice everyone was, how helpful everyone was, and again, observing with a lot of pride our emergency services in action. So thank you. Can't believe he's right there to receive thanks, Officer Dennis, but also the squad who's not here. And again, I don't plan on making a habit of Thank you, that's all.
Okay, great, thank you. And next we have the Department of Utilities, Councilman Dave Potter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 4 brief reports this evening. My first utilities report. Street lights were repaired at the following locations: 9 East Leakin, 8 Nelson, Townsend Street between Ackerman and William Street replaced both street lights with LED fixtures, and People's Plaza replaced 1 street light with a new LED fixture. Department members responded to several calls for hanging wires. Department members assisted the water department running the sewer machine. A parking lot light was repaired at the municipal building. Electric meters were replaced in several locations. 7 distribution lighting arresters were replaced at People's Plaza. Numerous work orders associated with billing issues were completed, and final readings of closed accounts were performed. Regarding the substation, daily checks performed. Maintenance of egress lighting is continuing. Contaminant sump pumps were checked for proper operation. Several poles were inspected for safety issues. Inventory was reviewed and necessary materials ordered. Several power outages were investigated, and utilities assisted the billing department with customer issues, and several electric meters were replaced. Respectfully submitted, John Eckert. And Madam Mayor, I also want to add, on Tuesday, February 21st, We had a bad storm and a lightning strike hit one of the poles. There was, part of the town was out, and I'd just like to thank our utilities department for getting the town up in a very timely manner. My next report is from the Utilities Committee. I would like to thank the BA and clerk for memorializing the utilities projects. I know we're not, it's not supposed to be done, but I really appreciate that, and for the mayor and council's support for these projects, and look forward to hearing how these projects are progressing from our engineers in our upcoming meetings. No pressure, Mike, but we'll be watching. We're also in the process of scheduling a meeting with PSE&G, and I see PSE&G is going to be, Madam Mayor, PSE&G is going to be with the seniors on March 20th at noon. Maybe we can grab them afterwards.
Really?
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what.
I mean,
that
that's
was,
right, but yeah, so we're going to meet with them right after that.
Exactly. So we hope to meet with them, and then hopefully get them here to a council meeting to give a status of the projects in town. I would also like to thank the Milltown 4th of July Committee, Neil, Jason, and Russ, and the rest of the organization for the presentation, and also too thanking them in advance for all of their efforts in organizing and putting on the day for our town. Also, please save the date for our upcoming Celebrity Bartender fundraiser. That'll be on Saturday, April 29th at the American Legion. And finally, Madam Mayor, regarding Planning Board, our next meeting will be this Wednesday, March 1st. But there will be a special Planning Board meeting held on March 16th at 7 p.m. here at Borough Hall to continue the discussion of the ERISA application. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. And just to follow up on why we're doing that, the first PSE&G meeting that we will have is to discuss opening it up to the public. As we talked about last week, they're doing a lot of work around here in Milltown. Not that I'm ever I don't have gas to my house, so it wasn't a personal thing to me. However, when I did notice on my street that my neighbors hadn't been notified, we do have the luxury of having a contact from PSE&G, who is the governmental affairs, and it's amazing that what happens when the mayor gets in touch, right? So I got in touch with him and said that we hadn't been getting notice of when things were coming to our street. He responded back to me last week with a date where door hangers were left on my street, and I said, I can 100% assure you that that did not happen, which prompted the need to have a meeting with their outreach folks, their project manager, the governmental affairs person, Councilman Potter from Utilities, and Ralph and the police chief. So we want to make sure, and again, I did not know that until it actually happened on my street. From what I've heard now, it's happened on several other streets that they are indicating that you're getting notice and you're not. And then we'll also follow up about what's going to happen as they start to repair these streets that they've left strips on. So we'll talk to them first, then we'll see if we can do some bigger meetings so everyone can ask their questions. Okay? Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, next we have the Department of Public Works and Recycling, Councilman Rich Revelinski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to start off with a quick announcement here. It's a little housekeeping. For everyone who has looked out their window tonight, you can see some precipitation. Our DPW director has asked me to remind everyone that there is no parking on the public streets when the roads are snow covered. So please keep the vehicles off the roads when snow is present so that the DPW department can do their job clearing snow and avoid hitting any vehicles. This is an ordinance, so don't be surprised if you wind up with a ticket on your window for not doing so. There is public parking areas, whether it be at the library, the parks, or at Borough Hall. So please try to accommodate them so they can do their job. Your bumpers will thank you later. No official report from our director this evening, so I figured I will give an update on our discussions that we had earlier this month. The DPW department or committee held a meeting earlier this month. We discussed several items. We've got about 15 bullet points here, so bear with me. We covered a lot of ground in this first meeting. We discussed our paving program with the county. We're going to be seeking most likely an additional $300,000 for interlocal agreement with Middlesex County. Multiple streets were identified, and with some quick math, it came up to about 325,000 square feet of paving. We know this is extremely ambitious, but we're hopeful to get as much done as possible and stick with those. Currently, the department's awaiting a word from the county on how much we can apply for and their capacity. We also discussed generating roadway repair standards to be followed and be on file here at the borough, so that whenever a roadway is opened up by an independent contractor performing work for a resident, we can make sure that the roads are repaired to the proper standard. DOT grants. Last year, we submitted for Northbrook Drive and for Herbert Avenue. So we're taking an early start at this one, and the committee feels that it would be in our best interest to continue pursuit of those streets until they are completed. So we're looking at Northbrook Drive, with the secondary again being Herbert Avenue. Vehicles, this is a good one. In 2022, we ordered a new F-450, and like anyone who's ordered a vehicle recently, you gotta wait a while. This truck has still not arrived. Currently, the DPW is looking for a new Ford F-350 to replace a rusted out vehicle, which is a 2007 pickup truck with a rotted frame that will be decommissioned once a new vehicle arrives. The garbage truck we ordered in 2022, well, here's some good news. It's reached a substantial milestone. The chassis has been moved on to its next destination for the production of the actual body and crushing capacity. So we're hopefully see that one this year too, because we got some old ones there still lugging around the roads. Backhoe and a lawnmower were ordered last year, which is great news, and we hope to see them arrive before the summer. Vac truck, which was previously approved, however, the manufacturer has yet to provide a definitive date for availability. We discussed certain borough facilities. In part of that was about $10,000 for lighting and heat at the recycling facility behind the senior center. That facility houses a lot of our recycled materials, and we feel that could benefit from some lighting in there. Currently, if they access that building at night, they have to roll up the garage door and turn the headlights on in the truck to see around. So that would help. In 2022, at Borough Hall, the HVAC system repairs were roughly $20,000 just to keep them going. So we're going to need some HVAC work over here at Borough Hall, and the DPW has asked to put that on our list of items as well. For parks, since the middle of summer of 2022, the bridge on the playset at Gloria Bradford Park has been broken and taken out of service. About $10,300 for a replacement. We urge residents to please use common sense when using the facilities. For example, if it's roped off with caution and says, keep off, not safe, it's probably not safe and you should keep off. Please keep the kids off here. Be vigilant. We discussed sidewalk repairs, similar method to the Middlesex County program for paving, but we feel that anywhere between $10,000 to $30,000 annually would be very beneficial in repairing some of our sidewalks that are on borough property, such as along Borough Park or Gloria Bradford Park and other areas where they're starting to deteriorate because of the roots. A new roof for the bathrooms over at the pool, we received a estimate for that for about $12,000. However, that estimate is a little bit old, so we're going to be looking for a new one, so we can throw that into the budget. Doing some paving over at the pool to help ease that and make it a little bit more accessible and less rough. One of the big trees over there at the entrance has been removed. Finish some work over at Michelin Park with paving the perimeter pathway. A quote has been requested. Fix the posts on the gazebos over there at Albert Avenue. We're looking to have that budgeted for this year as well. And last two items was the Schwendeman Nature Center, discussion on cleanup of the property and possibly utilizing some of the funds received for the bike path in 2022 in conjunction with the Schwendeman property to see about maybe going around that pond and how far we could stretch that along Albert Avenue. Lastly, the old DPW building cleanup is ongoing when the folks in DPW have a few minutes. We received a quote for $7,500, which would include testing and removal of the old transformers that are located over there. Now, in the past, when we looked at this, the numbers were pretty high, so my personal thought is that $7,500 isn't too bad to get rid of something that will likely utilize a crane to remove it. And I recommend that each council member take a look at this area, take a walk around the old facility, and start brainstorming on what we can do there for future plans. I'll say it again. DPW Director has asked me to remind all residents that there is no parking on public streets when the road is snow covered. We're expecting snow tonight, so please plan accordingly so the DPW can do their job. Our next DPW subcommittee meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 21st at 6:45 p.m. And lastly, I do have some notifications quick from the library. Library wants to remind everyone that they are starting a seed exchange, which would be available at the library. It's exciting, so for any of the avid horticulturists out there that want to start your backyard gardens, visit the library for some seeds. And Thursdays are story time. 10:30 a.m. are for infants and babies, 0 months to 18 months, and at 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays for all ages. That concludes my reports.
Great, thank you. Next, we will move on to the Department of Environmental, Health, and Social Councilman John Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilman Brooks volunteered to read my report.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brooks.
You're welcome. Should I do now or do
Sure,
it
go
now?
ahead.
Okay, sure. So briefly, thank you, Madam Mayor. So for Environmental Commission, we met the other day and we spent a fair amount of talking about what we voted on today about the Keysby power plant. So it was really informative at the Environmental Commission. Again, John Sue happened to also volunteer his time to be there, so thank you for that. And we discussed, again, a lot of what was presented this evening. What was the planned power plant there? What still is the planned power plant? What are the negative impacts to the immediate area as well as the neighboring area, which we are inclusive of? And the Environmental Commission took their official commission vote, and then obviously the recommendation to the council. So that was really informative, and that was a fair chunk of the meeting there. We also discussed some additional topics that are still ongoing. Earth Day being a major focus for the Environmental Commission group, mainly being the use of Milltown Park and additional funding that is requested. So I know that Councilman Collins, who can't be here tonight, obviously, is meeting with our DPW Director Ralph as the recycling captain to talk about the funding that he actually already receives for cleanup efforts and the credits we get to do so. We're going to be also, John and myself as liaison recreation, following up with Ron Cephalone, the rec director, to make sure that the Mill Pond Park park request is granted again with the waiver fee. So make sure everything is smooth sailing with that, to make sure for Earth Day, as well as following up with our finance committee, which we have meetings later this week and into next week to discuss the outstanding budget request for the Earth Day, to support Earth Day celebrations. So that was probably the two main focus that we talked about, and talked about outstanding. Councilmember Lucy already mentioned some log cabin ideas that we are still outstanding with the Environmental Commission group, because that is still a major focus to make sure the log cabin nature center is refurbished and how we can incorporate that area more into Albert Avenue Park. And also we discussed some internal mechanisms with regards to the planning board, which is still a little bit outstanding, and we're going to be exploring that more internally with the DPW and our borough attorney and such. So we have some ideas here how we can work, the Environmental Commission group can work more closely with the planning board and be proactive in making sure their reviews ahead of all planning board meetings. So we've had very, very thorough meeting and very enjoyable having the chance to attend that. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, as long as we're over to you, go ahead with the Department of Recreation.
Okay, I'll keep going. No formal report from the Recreation Department tonight, but The Recreation Advisory Committee did meet on February 15th, that's the third Wednesday. We discussed some current recreation programs and then some exciting upcoming spring and summer programs, as Gabrielle demonstrated in her website design. You can find all that on the recreation webpage and easily through Community Pass, which has a lot of information for upcoming programs and how to sign up. We also discussed recent park improvement projects that we've heard about in recent meetings, particularly even at Michelin Park, where particularly the net has been fully erected to support, to protect baseballs flying over the outfield fence into the playground area, and that was obviously with support of the DPW and the electric utility department, as well as there were long-standing broken light poles within Michelin Park path that have subsequently finally power has been cut, and also those poles have been removed and regraded that level, so it's again a little bit more visually appealing in that park area. We also, with this being, as kind of Councilman Revolution was going over capital budget timing, the Recreation Department had a lot of the similar ideas and or similar in conjunction with our DPW, that the crossover with our Parks Department for capital park improvement projects that are under review and obviously being submitted to the Finance Committee as part of the budgetary process. And what else? Oh, and then getting away from kind of the director's report for that meeting, the volunteer committee mostly spent time working on content for the Rec Ramblings newsletter, something that Milltown used to offer, and we're trying to bring that back. Again, I think it would be useful where obviously have a ton of stuff on their website, but we want to have another fun way of engaging with their residents to present information to make sure everyone knows what's going on in town and has opportunities to participate. Shameless plug, if anyone has editing experience or wants to volunteer some editing experience with that, stress on volunteer, because there's a little miscommunication for someone who thought it was a paid position. The rec department would love to have assistance with that, and you can contact Ron at the rec department with any inquiries for that. And we also talked about non-traditional, I use air quotes, non-traditional recreation activities that the department can support. So as an advisory committee, we are advising the department head to consider non-traditional recreation events that are, outside of traditional youth sports, which are such an integral part of the department, but also we can offer more, particularly to our adult citizens, senior citizens, and so forth. So hopefully some exciting programs are going to come out in spring and summer with those ideas.
Great.
And that concludes my report.
Good. Thank you. Administrator?
I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Mr. McCullen, our engineer report this evening?
Just a short report tonight, Madam Mayor. First, we had a pre-construction meeting on February 23rd regarding Clayton Court. Contractor anticipates starting sometime in probably latter March, April, depending on weather. We also attended a utility committee meeting on February 23rd to discuss improvements to West Foch Avenue and the limits and DOT financing for the project. That's all we have.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for the engineer? Okay.
How far along are we with the force main design project? Where do we stand with that?
The force main was authorized, design was authorized by MCUA. We have completed preliminary plans and submitted to the authority.
So it's designed.
And are they paying for those?
They paid for those costs, that's right.
Okay.
I'm
Sure,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm just recalling a question that came up during the DPW meeting about the extent of the West Foch improvement area. From where to where?
The design is not started yet. This is really early discussions. You may remember what happens with these projects is that we go to committee, and Jeanette chaired a nice meeting the other day relative with Councilman Potter, relative to the project. This is early budgeting. So we have NJDOT grants. I think our recommendation for consideration after further discussion was that you start at the cul-de-sac and work your way up towards Main Street. Roughly Albert Avenue, but it's subject to final design, or some preliminary and final design.
And Mike, we did talk about 2 phases.
That's right.
Oh, 2 phases.
2 phases.
Thank you.
No, the improvements for West Foch, what's the intended plan there? Is that a cleaning and lining project? Or is this in regards to the utilities and possibly the roadway being wavy?
Remember this discussion, maybe earlier, you were at a meeting also, where the borough asked us to do some subsurface evaluation. You're trying to get an ordinance in place so that you can pay for that. The idea is that you have settlement which appears to be related to the sewer laterals and possibly the water services. The borough about 10 years ago cleaned and lined the main street on West Foch, so that one is generally satisfactory. There's been no breakage afterwards. So the plan would be to, right now, do the water services. There was discussion in the committee how far to go. There's a state requirement that all lead services, if they're encountered, be replaced, lead and galvanized, I should say, replaced to the homes. So that was part of the discussion, but essentially the sanitary sewer would be lined and laterals replaced depending on what we find with the subsurface specification.
When I recall us discussing West Foch last year, that was under the purview of the DPW committee in regards to the roadway being an investigation there and for repaving. So I'm just wondering how this is switched, if it is in fact the same project, how we've completely switched it over to utilities now.
Now, the road issue was related to the belief that it was utilities causing it, and I think that the question came up, well, are we sure it's utilities creating it, or is it some subsurface problem in the roadway?
Right.
So that we're going to correct it with this, the ordinance you're going to pass, take a look at that and determine what the best way to proceed is. Is it the sewer laterals, or does the road get some backfilling of organic material, if you remember that discussion?
I'd like to be kept a little bit more closer in the loop on this one. Since it was part of the DPW discussion last year, I'm surprised to find that it's now under the umbrella of the utilities.
Councilman
Unfortunately, I don't sit on that one, so.
It actually was both committees. It was actually both committees. It's not being withheld from DPW. This is just the second, when we were talking about the laterals. That's how it ended up there, so.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Attorney report, Mr. Vignola?
No report tonight.
Okay, on to me for the mayor's comments. So I just want to bring to everyone's attention, tomorrow, February 28th, is the deadline for the new expanded property tax relief program for New Jersey homeowners. We really have tried to make sure that people are aware of this. The tax office has sent things out. We have it on the website. We put it on the sign. But I did get from our assemblyman a breakdown, and this is a couple of weeks old now, of all of the homeowners, the 2,300, that was mailed to 2,358 homeowners in Milltown. As of 2 weeks ago, only 1,151 had applied, and outstanding were still 1,200. It was mailed to 410 tenants, and only 132 filed, with 278 remaining. Now, this is a little bit old. I did ask the assemblyman if there was any chance that that deadline would be extended, and there's a possibility, but as of right now, you have until tomorrow. So we don't want to, we want to encourage everyone to just go on. There's information on the website. I've seen it advertised on TV. If you're in, and it's just, all it is, it's based by income, nothing to do with your property taxes. If your income is up to $150,000, you can get a $1,500 return. If your income is between $150,000 and $250,000, you'd get a $1,000 return. And renters up to $150,000 of income would get $450. And this is based on your ownership for tax year, or for your income and tax year 2019. So please be aware of that and let your people know. We've tried to get the word out, but I just wanted to encourage you again to do that, because the state, and it says here in the letter that, and I guess it depends on if it gets extended, but you should expect checks or a direct deposit issued by the end of May 2023. Okay. I also wanted to remind everyone, March Madness for the 8th grade is this Friday, March 3rd. I am going to be out of town, but Councilwoman O'Donnell has volunteered to do the tip-off. and it's a great fundraiser for our 8th graders so that they can go on trips. Please be careful tonight, as it's our first big winter storm, so I know the DPW is on top of everything, so be careful this evening. And then just my final comment is, as I sat here listening to everyone give their reports and, go through the meeting, it did my heart good to hear how much we have going on here in the borough. We don't take it for granted of how much work these council people do through their committees, how much work, our professionals do, and all of the people that work here too. And, I thank the committees that have finally set up a capital plan so that when we hear about getting a garbage truck or getting different things, that's because last year we set in motion to do that, things that, you just can't go and say, hey, we need this. So it's a great thing, and also to hear about using all of the grant money that we're getting, which is not coming out of the taxpayers' pocket. So we're really pleased to have all of these projects and all of these things going on, and I thank you all for your efforts on this. And with that, I will move on to old business. Does any member of the council have any old business to bring before the council this evening? Hearing none, I'll move on to new business. Does any member of the council have any new business to bring before us this evening?
Yes, just one item. I brought this up a while ago, so I don't know if no action was ever taken there, to my knowledge, so I don't know if it's new business or old business, but a while ago I mentioned a desire to have placed on the ballot this year a public question on whether or not we should look to sell to the borough's water and sewer system. I have my reasons. I believe we've made those clear, but I'd like to see some further discussion. I'm disappointed to learn that in January we received a proposed contract from the city of New Brunswick to extend our agreement with them. And I'm wondering how that may impact our ability to let the public make a choice on moving forward. And if that contract with the city of New Brunswick is just an extension, verbatim, or if there's any other language changes, because there's been some issues in the past with them trying to bill us for sewer based on a meter, and the way the agreement reads is that they only bill us for sewer based on our water usage. And they were trying to hit us with a couple $100,000 a few years ago if we caved into that. So I would ask anyone who's looking that over to tread extremely lightly and to consider what benefits or added benefits we get from the city of New Brunswick versus what we may get from a private entity who I've seen several in the past 2 or 3 years that have gotten given towns $8 million, $9 million, $7 million guaranteed work of $10 million in the first 8 years, as well as fixed rates. So before we go signing any contracts or proposing them for a resolution, I think we should be evaluating all our options.
So, the question, and again, the public question is, what are you putting out as the public question?
Whether or not the borough should evaluate the sale of its water and sewer system, based on the financials and based on the opportunities that are available to us.
So the question, are you going to present those financials to the public to give them a more informed decision?
Well, yes, I think that's what we should be doing throughout the course of the year in preparation, so that the residents can make an informed decision on election day.
So I will say that when, what was it, about 10 or 11 years ago, when we had the same conversation about the electric utility, when we had no power, remember, after Irene and Sandy, and there was some desire to unload our electric utility, and so Mayor Bradford at that time had an ordinance to put a special committee together to examine that. So is that something that we're proposing, to have a committee to do the due diligence to get the information and have experts together to know what we're going to propose to the public to vote at the public question?
Well, the public question is whether or not the borough should consider it and it would be non-binding, but it gives us the opportunity and a gauge of what the public wants.
Okay, so.
And what we would do in the interim is start to present some of these facts by having industry professionals come forth, as well as a look at our own analysis on what we make, what it costs us, what our debt service is, and all the other factors associated with the water sewer system. Because right now, we rely mostly on grants, and I don't believe we have much surplus, as opposed to the electric, which I think we take somewhere around 1.2 million a year from electric to balance the budget. We don't have that liberty, and by resolution, or ordinance, I believe, actually, we are not permitted to take the funds from the water or sewer to balance the budget. So these are all the type of things that we should be discussing,
Well,
so that the public is aware of it, and that on election day, they can make a choice.
Councilman
and tell
Potter,
tell us how they feel.
you had a discussion in utility about the rates, right?
Yes, we had a meeting with Jeanette, and Councilman Collins was also there as well in Champaign, but Councilman Zambrano. We were discussing the rates, and also it was brought up to look at other places as well to try and get their rates to compare.
And one of the other things that I think is important, just you mentioned about the contract or the agreement with New Brunswick. So there is an opt-out clause. So the fact that we signed that, it was reviewed by Mr. Vignolia, and just for, to make sure that there was no new language in it, that it was a extension of a previous agreement, but there is an option for us to opt out. So we don't have it's not negotiable for the rates. The rates are whatever the rates are. So I just want to be clear on that, so that wouldn't hinder us from exploring other agreements with other towns, wouldn't hinder us from selling the utility if that's what the council's decision was.
So what is the intent of the new contract? Because we've always had an opt-out clause, and we've never had control over the rates that New Brunswick charges
Right,
us. So why now do we have a proposal in front of us?
It's not the first time. This has happened.
This is just a renewal and extension?
This was done back in 2020. Well, I guess the last agreement was from 2015 to
I think, the last
or
agreement.
2011, because we had
froze
the
because
old
of
one.
COVID.
It's just, something that happens periodically. So this one actually expired.
You guys usually have about 5-year terms on your agreement with them for your rates. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the latest 5-year agreement.
So it's nothing
That would
new.
be coming in before you guys.
And what do they have those rates proposed in there? What do they look like?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you that they are about 17%. The 2023 rate is 17% less than, say, New Jersey American Water. And at the end of the 5-year, the rate increases are still well below what the current New Jersey American Water, that was the comparison.
But that
I
doesn't
received.
include our operating costs.
No, just this is the rates of water.
So I don't know if you were really asking for our feedback, but I feel like we do have the committee that considers this. It's the utility committee. And they do consider that all the options every year. So I don't see the necessity of a ballot question, because we do things like town hall meetings and get feedback and have the professionals and have the committee members there to hear that feedback. So I don't necessarily see it as a
We don't want to
ballot
hear what the
question.
public wants to say about it.
I do want to hear, make that very, very clear to all those here and all those watching. I want to hear. I think the means by which we hear can be a town hall where we're interactive with you and not only hearing a yes or no via a ballot question.
Well, the intent, and forgive me if I wasn't clear, but the intent would be that throughout the course of the year leading up to the ballot question would be that we evaluate and can present data to the public so they can make a more informed decision on election day.
Yeah.
And
So-
as opposed to just a handful that can or cannot make it. I know we've had lead service meetings, public meetings, where we've had 20 people show up and the same questions that were asked at the previous meeting are asked again. So the more information I think we get out there, the better, and the more opportunities we present to the public. I for one, would love to hear their feedback. Knowing the numbers and knowing the way things operate, I think this town would benefit tremendously from having it privatized.
So, At the, when you put a public question on, don't you have to have the information in the public question? Because you can't rely on that everybody's going to have heard what we're putting out, so it has to have some verbiage in a public question, correct?
Your public question is going to be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. So you'll decide by ordinance that you want to place a public question on the ballot for advisory purposes, and it's going to ask a question that's going to have a yes or no answer. So, I mean, you did it with cannabis a couple years ago. You did it previously with the firehouse. It's, you know, but certainly I think the more information you can provide to the public regarding the actual question you're asking them, the greater ability you'll have to gain something from the response. Because a simple question isn't always going to give you a lot of information because you don't know how well informed the person was who made the response to the question.
Right.
So that's, to that point, that's why I'd like to start the process now, so that we have a greater opportunity for people to be informed instead of a last minute, I don't know, maybe just hit yes or no because that's the finger you're pointing with.
Well, but Councilman Revelinsky, if you'll recall, when you were the chair of the Utilities Committee several years ago, you proposed that, and we put it up to a vote, and I believe your party was in the majority, and they did not vote to spend the money to do a study to proceed with privatizing the water.
Well, that was a valuation to spend the money, so now I'm asking the general public.
What's the valuation? If we went to the public and said, do you want to sell the water? Are we selling it for $1, $1 million, $10 million? We have to have a valuation, because that would be just like going to them next year saying, well, do you want to pay taxes, right? So they need to know what they're voting on.
So if we don't do evaluation,
also
we'll
what
never
the
provide
rates-
the information to the public to make an informed
Well,
decision.
that's something that we'd have to have, yes. What's the valuation of that? And also, what would be the effect to the ratepayers, right? Is it, we're asking them, do you want to sell the utility? And they may say yes, in good faith, because they think that might be a good thing, until they find out what the actual rates would be. So I think we need to present it to them in a cohesive, and again, I am all for getting public input, but we have to give it in a cohesive way so that they understand what they're voting yes or no on.
And perhaps also, if we announce that we are going to be asking this public question, the residents can look at these things themselves beyond just what we present, but also all the case studies throughout the state.
But they can't know how much a company would give for our particular water sewer system.
And we wouldn't know until we looked into it further either. So again, this is about taking a first step to determine if there's public interest.
But this public interest would require the borough to spend money. So we would have to have some sort of resolution to spend money to do evaluation.
You can't make an omelet out of breaking some eggs.
Right. But, okay, so you're proposing that, and I know you've been proposing it for 5 years. So unfortunately, and again, you know, we want to hear from the public, but we want to make sure that they're clear on what the ask is as well. So thank you for the input. And you know, if it's the utility committee that needs to do the first step, then I would, you know, ask Councilman Potter to put that on the agenda for the next one of examining the process for getting the evaluation, and also to put some information together, maybe about some other towns in our neighboring communities that have done so, and that could be a starting point.
I also think, Madam Mayor, we'll need a special committee to start looking into this, because that's...
That's
yeah.
why,
So,
we do
and
have,
it's gonna, there's gonna be
an example
costs.
ordinance, and we can get to, so what Mayor Bradford did was she tasked the utility committee, but then broadened it out to have some subject matter experts that join people from the community. So we could certainly start the ball rolling by doing that, you know, to do a special, what do we want to call it? Water privatization committee?
Like a subcommittee, you had the electric subcommittee that started with, I believe, their first task was to determine the financial viability of the sale of the electric utility.
Right.
And then work their way through that and after figuring out that there really wasn't a financial viability to that, they worked their way down to what the steps that would need to be taken in order for the borough to continue to operate the utility. And then they implemented them.
Yeah, so I think it's good, find out all our options, right? Options A, B, C, and D. And then, once we narrow that down, then we have more of an information to go to the public. So I'm glad to get the ball rolling on this, and we can certainly look at doing a subcommittee.
Sure. Sounds great.
And Peter, when is the deadline? You said before, July? What?
Yeah, I think by June, I think by your June meeting, you'd probably be looking at putting the ordinance on. I think you've got a deadline that sometime mid-August, you need to have it finished by, but you guys only meet one time a month in the summer, so unless you want to have a special meeting to push something like that along, probably by your June meeting, you want to be putting it on for first reading.
And to
So we want the
understand.
final reading on the June meeting, is that correct?
No, because you got to have it in place before August, so your final.
Before August.
Yeah, yeah.
Final reading in July.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
it's,
Final reading in July, so.
Final reading
In July.
right, so, yeah, we could start that right away. Because we don't want to say, we need to get some indication of, the value of what we have, so that if somebody comes in, just like when you sell your house, it's worth what somebody's gonna pay you. So we could think that it's worth 10 million until somebody, walks in and says, no, we'll give you $1 million. And to get some information about rates and service, and, then we can give people a choice. Here's your options, this is what you're gonna vote on. Okay.
Yep.
All right,
We'll look
sounds
into
good.
it, yeah.
Any other new business? Okay, seeing none, I will close new business and move on to audience comments. The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. The council will respect the public's time by refraining any comment until the speaker has finished. It should be further noted that public comment portion of our meeting is not structured as a specific question and answer session. If a member has a specific question they seek answers to, an appointment can be made with the appropriate office. Please state your name and address for the record when you come to the podium. Yes.
Michael Shikarjan, 19 Yarnell Avenue, Environmental Commission. Two things. Firstly, I want to thank you all for passage of the resolution regarding the Keysby proposal for a gas-fired power plant. I truly appreciate your careful consideration before voting.
Thank you.
Secondly, with regard to Earth Day, I just wanted to mention, I know Kate's letter with our proposal and our requests had quite a long list of items, various activities that we were interested in doing. The reason for that is, it may look a little bit ambitious, but the reason for it is that if we had a thought, we wanted the council to know what that thought was. So if there was something that, might have been difficult logistically or objectionable or something like that, then you could see it and, make a note or comment, whatever. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I will close audience comments and move on to council comments. Does any member of the council have any final comments?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Councilman Collins for forwarding the draft resolution to the Environmental Commission. I'd like to thank the Environmental Commission for looking it over and trying to get that back as soon as possible. So kudos, that's what you guys are for. You guys are supposed to be there to check out these types of things and say, hey, you need to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that it's cold outside, and if it's snowing, please remove the cars from the roadway. One last shot.
I've heard that somewhere.
Is it snowing?
It's not sticking, well, it'll freeze. Careful driving in the morning, too, with the kids on the way to school. How about
Let's
that?
get out of here and find out.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to also, I'd like to congratulate the JK girls basketball team for their undefeated 13-0 season. I understand the last time there was an undefeated season was 1999.
Wow.
And Madam Mayor, I know we had daughters that were in the system, so we know it's quite a feat.
That
And
is.
maybe there's probably people in our audience and people at home, so congratulations to them. And this really looks good for Coach Vizzy and Spotswood, who also won the Blue Division this year.
Oh, really?
And their JV team also had a great season. So congratulations
That
to
is-
all. And also I'll just add, due to a conflict, I unfortunately will not be at the next council meeting on the 13th.
Well, we will miss you.
Thank you. And that concludes my.
Anyone else? Yes, congrats to the JK team. That is quite an accomplishment. Anyone else? All right, let's go check out the weather outside. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you all.